This is the first One Lap Hero podcast with
Gabriele Piana, race driver and One Lap Hero founder, together with my man and co-host, Kostas.
And I don't really have a profession in the sense that I don't feel particularly professional in anything that I do. I'm a lover of life, like a lover of things, a lover of cars, arts, and the engineering behind cars.
I thought you were going.
Yes.
I thought you were already going.
Finally saved us. I'm a lover of that as well. Don't let me go there. I mean, I want to have fun, but don't lead me there.
So basically, what happened was that, as some of you might know or probably know, like if you're watching this, you for sure have watched a One Lap Hero video before this one. I hope, otherwise you will be shocked by what you're gonna hear and see. So the latest One Lap Hero videos had very long talking parts with me and Kostas mostly, where we basically go on a tangent and we talk about whatever comes through our mind. And some of you enjoyed it to the point that some of you actually commented, I would like a video only of that, only of you talking. Can you do a podcast about it? So you see, Kostas, somebody did eventually ask for it. And at the same time,
something.
Yeah.
You know this. Only today, I actually had this. Someone told me, a good friend of the channel, he actually told me, I have to confess that I watch your videos a little bit like podcasts. So when I'm driving to my girlfriend, like I'm in the car and I have it there playing. And I'm not really looking at all times the screen, but I'm really listening what you guys are saying. And I actually fucking love it. And I think that you should do a podcast. And I was
fantastic.
laughing.
There you go. There you have
it. I was ready to tell him, man, we are actually considering doing this. But knowing me and knowing you, I thought that, no.
It would never happen.
Exactly. So I didn't tell him anything. So if somehow this actually ends up being a podcast, and if somehow
Kostas, hold on. I have to interrupt you here. Because, this one...
Normally I do this.
This might eventually be released, but the people must know the truth. This is the third day in a row that we try to record this. So you thinking that recording a podcast is easy. This is our third attempt.
Not with us.
Not with us. But anyway, let me get back on track. So part of you wanted it, part of the audience sort of looked or said that it wanted something like this, as Kostas could testify right now. And part of you said, yeah, but I can't really follow, and it is so difficult to because 1 minute you're talking about a car, and the next minute you're talking about a penguin, or it's so difficult to keep following.
We are talking about pandas, not being reproducing in captivity.
And this is very difficult to follow. And, after 2 minutes, I get bored and I close the video or I skip through it. So we said, okay, let's, throw one stone and kill two birds. We will do the podcast for those people that want to hear us rambling on about whatever comes to our head. And we will do the video and we will try to clean our act a little bit in the videos and try to stay on point. Yet, during this podcast at least, for the first, let's say, 70% of the time, we will try our best to stay on topic.
To stick on the subject.
Right. And not derail it
We have a
completely.
subject list.
I actually have in front of me a Word document with bullet points, like something I've never had. Like I've had professional meetings when I didn't have bullet points and I just came in and winged it. This is the most professional I've behaved in my whole life, and it is for the One Lap Hero podcast. I don't know if I have to be sad about this, or this should excite me, but I don't know. It's a bit weird.
I try to make all my meetings non-professional, so I don't really know what you're talking about. But I have a feeling that whatever you want to talk about, I will try to interfere and
I can imagine.
derail, but also add useful information.
Kostas, so let me tell you what we're going to talk about, and then you can weigh in whether or not it interests you. This is my idea for today. You have seen. So first of all, have you been on YouTube lately? Yes. So have you seen all these reviews of the 992 GT3s coming out?
Yeah, I didn't drive it.
You didn't drive it, me neither. But do you know why all these reviews came out all together? Just basically because the embargo on reviews was lifted, and everybody was at Bedford eventually, and everybody drove it, and everybody made a video about it, apart from us.
No, in the US they were driving the same canyon. But exactly.
Okay, yeah. So, but anyway, a review that has
to the point.
A review that has no part on track of a GT3, I don't watch.
It's not a review.
So we were gonna talk about this. So about a little bit about the car, a little bit about the reviews itself, a little bit how funny it is to see, like how funny it is, like the manufacturer trying to
Identical
control.
videos.
Exactly. How funny the whole process is, like the manufacturer trying to control how the media presents the car, like having an embargo so that nobody jumps the gun, and then this eventually being completely counterproductive for us, which are the consumer, which we eventually get flooded by content which is exactly almost identical one to the other, beside a few exceptions. And we might drop even some tidbits here and there about what's coming up. We might have even we have a new project car coming. Uh, but I don't know how
We're not gonna talk about this.
I don't know how much Costas is gonna show you, but actually it's recorded, so everything is in the recording, and it's fully open and in the clear. So Costas has the final word on editing, and I don't know what's gonna come out. But yeah, basically the last part of the video will be more like freestyling and talking about. We did this kind of videos in the past, like Q&A or like a reaction to the comments and sort of like this. Basically, it's just gonna be us two talking like friends about how ridiculous this comment is or how smart this other comment is or whatever.
I would say that this is basically the second reason that we're doing this podcast, is that we felt the need that we want to take like a couple of your questions and actually explain to you in more detail and in a more like relaxed format what exactly we're doing. So
Yeah.
when we feel that you don't really get it, or maybe when there's like a very interesting question, instead of just replying in a comment with like a 2 or 3 lines of text, we can actually discuss it openly. And you can hear, for example, opinions from me and opinions from Gab, and you can actually decide by yourself how this
which one to listen to.
Exactly.
Right, so let's get cracking. 992 GT3. What do you think about the car?
992 GT3. So I think you actually described it very well. Embargo, all the videos get released. You get in your feed identical videos with the same car in the same location. It works very well for the manufacturer. It makes logistics simple. I don't think it works for the creatives. So having worked briefly into that field as well, I can tell you that this is not something that the crews enjoy. I don't believe that they can make their absolute best when you give them such a limited options. And I'm 100% sure that the team from Carfection doesn't want a video that looks exactly like the Top Gear video, and the Top Gear video should not look like the Piston Heads video and this and that. So I would say that the interesting videos are the 5 videos, the 5 main videos that we saw in the big UK channels. You might follow some of the other like influencer stuff that is like absolutely horrible. Please don't do. Your views are actually damaging the thing. So I would say
a little bit, though.
Me,
a little bit, yes, I agree.
Yeah, but actually, this is something very important. So your views matter. So every time you watch something that is garbage, just to say, but that was garbage, you are actually, with your view, giving power to this guy to create more of that shit. So actually, stop watching garbage. And the same goes for TV. Do you often see people complaining how like average mainstream TV is horrible, and then they still watch it?
And The Big Bang Theory, the most hated series in the world, and yet it went on for like 10 seasons or 12 seasons. Like,
because you were tuning in.
Actors ever in TV history, because everybody was.
And Arrested Development that was brilliant, got cancelled in the 3rd series. So you guys stop watching crap. That's basically it. So
I mean, this can be counterproductive for us, though.
No, because no one is watching us, so it's not a problem.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Where we are, we can actually say this. So Gab, 992 GT3 review. I would say that for me, I'm between the Chris Harris review and the Carfection review, so Top Gear and Carfection. That is my favorite ones. I know that for some people, Chris Harris is a bit like a polarizing thing, but he is probably accepted as like the best driving journalist. So for me, actually, I enjoyed this time the actual process. It felt like a less produced video in the sense that, of course, it was very well done, but it felt like a real thing. They took the car, they broke it in, he went to that hill, he drove it there. His expressions were that of someone that is just sort of trying to understand like a new car. So it felt quite real. The Carfection thing for me felt a little bit more produced. So Henry is also very cool. It's probably like, I would say, like my second favorite. The production was better than Top Gear 1, if you could sort of value these things. Sometimes about the video production, you can be a bit more subjective, I would say. So the Carfection 1, epic job. And that was also a very cool video. And then there was, I think, everything else. What do you think?
I tend to agree with you. I find it, for years, or still now, Top Gear is the car-related program production that has the most value being put into the actual production itself. So they have been doing for years the best shot, videos and with the best photography and whatever and the best editing. This was actually what made Top Gear what it is. And it's funny to see that now a channel like Car Faction eventually like almost going head to head, especially at least on the YouTube side of things, which is cool. And I tend to agree with you. One is more cinematic, so the Car Faction video is a little bit more like emotional, cinematic, and better shot. But I still tend to gravitate more towards Chris Harris's review. To be honest, I can relate to it a little bit more. Because he sort of, well, not entirely, in the sense that I will be, we are different. I'm a different person, so I'm not Chris Harris. I tend to be a little bit more cynical about this kind of, a bit in general. I don't know how he is in real life, but on cars, I tend to be a little bit more cynical. So I don't have this much. I would never be able to just to say that I love everything or that I find everything fantastic. Like no matter what you give me, I can immediately like sort of like to me the lacking parts are more obvious than the things that are good.
You complain.
I'm a complainer, but this is like in life. I'm like this. Like with myself, I'm like this. I'm a very self-critical person, and it is like a mindset, I think.
If someone watched this 30-minute ND review, which by the way, if you haven't watched, please
Just
go and watch this channel, then you can actually see you complaining for 30 minutes. So yes, in your life, you're like this.
Yeah, I'm genuine like this. I didn't do it because I wanted to make a video that was controversial. Like I genuinely believed every single word that I said because I am very, very, you could say hypercritical. But I feel like I'm very fair in the sense that I'm hypercritical across the board, like including myself. So I tend to grab
sense of humor. There, you could be a bit more hypercritical.
My sense of humor is amazing. What do you mean? But
his favorite series is.
This is not my favorite series. This is not my favorite series, but I enjoy it. But this is the nostalgia kicking in, and don't derail the conversation already. So basically, yeah, Chris Harris, I really enjoyed it, and to some extent, I felt it. I almost felt he was a bit underwhelmed by the car to some extent.
We agree fully.
Because I think he also mentioned like I don't know how I don't remember how he phrases it exactly, but basically it says he mentions that it's just incrementally better than the 991, which means to me I feel like he wasn't blown away by the car.
I agree fully. I know that we agree. And don't worry again. We don't agree often, but I think that Chris Harris is the guy that if you watch him a lot, and especially if you watch like all his reviews, you can actually have a feeling when he doesn't like something, and you can sort of understand from even body language and expressions. You can kind of understand if the guy like is into it or not. I would say that from all journalists, he's actually the guy that when he doesn't like something, he's gonna say it, and like maybe. We have specific things that you don't agree with him. So, for example, Gab has behind him an MX-5. Chris Harris is a guy that has criticized an MX-5. So, for many MX-5 fanatics, he's considered like a bad guy because he doesn't like the MX-5. And he has criticized the Ferraris in the past and this and that and whatnot. So, I would say that he's one of the journalists that has an opinion.
Yeah.
You should not try to find a journalist that has an opinion that agrees with yours. You should just try to understand how each of them approaches the thing. So don't try to find someone that just says.
But this is life, confirmation bias is a thing, yeah.
Don't do it. I know that this is life, but this is also why people are angry under your ND review, because they want you to tell them that they bought the right car, and of course the guys want to hear Chris Harris say the things that they expect him to say. I think Chris Harris is the guy that he actually speaks badly. Not badly, he actually speaks critical about things when he wants. And sometimes you can feel even more if you know him. And that video is a perfect example. I got exactly the same feeling. I got the feeling that he understood that this car is better in different ways. And it might not even be the car for him. And knowing that the guy has like a 991.2 GT3 and one that actually got destroyed, and he decided to replace it with the same car. In my head, this means that Chris Harris actually enjoys this car. He has spoken about how he thinks that this is very close to like peak road car for him. We agree 100%. Having driven a 991.2 GT3, I agree that this is a fantastic machine, fantastic engine, fantastic gearbox, like a really super cool combo. And you know that he's a guy that has multiple cool cars. Of course, the discussion always goes to the GT3 RS, the 4.0, but it's not only that. He had a 993 GT2 before.
No, he had a lot of cool
other
stuff. He also had a
many other cool
599.
cars in between.
Incredible.
So he had very interesting stuff, and you can actually appreciate that it's the same guy also that enjoys the 205 GTI, and this has all these strange small hot hatches that we all enjoy. So he's not a guy that's uptight, and of course, like at the moment he has a 993 GT2, then nothing else is fun. Or if he has a GT3, then nothing else is fun.
But this is why I said I can relate to him, because he's critical. He's like not as cynical as I would be in the same position maybe, but not as critical as I would be. But he's still critical. He's not how everything is fucking awesome and everything is amazing.
And I would tell you that the next thing, the next review, we said that is like a Henry Catchpole, that he's also very good at his job. Like I really believe that he's a fantastic presenter.
Yes.
And he puts a lot of effort into scripting his things and performing them with emotion and doing his job, but actually doing his job. And I would tell you that for me, the biggest problem, I think, he tends to be a little bit more like on the positive side. So especially in this type of cars, that of course they are very capable cars, he always goes like to the positive points. So I think not often he will give you like negative points, I think.
But I think they can't. I think generally they can't. They cannot do that. I think it's not like, well, let me put it this way. It's not like somebody.
Can.
But it's not like somebody briefs them and say, hey, you should not say this. But eventually, it's do you wanna review the next car? Yeah, you're gonna have to talk well about this one. Well, and this is the whole thing, and this is the whole problem, and actually connects to the embargo being lifted and 20 videos coming out the same minute, because the system is not based anymore on the quality of the review, in the sense that, well, of course, partly it still is, but not necessarily focus on the quality of the review, because now what matters is being the first guy that has a video out, and what matters is being the guy that comes out first with the next car and the next car and the next car, because this is what's getting rewarded by the audience. And eventually Chris Harris talking bad about an 992 GT3, and then maybe being like the third or fourth or fifth or 10th reviewer to get his hands on the 992 GT2 would hurt him a lot more than actually just being compliant and say, this car is awesome and amazing and fantastic and whatever. And this is it's working backwards, because in reality you expect these people to be honest, but they cannot do this. They cannot be honest and open about it, because no matter what, they have a vested interest, and the vested interest is not specifically with Porsche, because if you speak badly about Porsche, then also Mercedes gets worried, and then also Renault gets worried, and whatever it might be. So you get like stigmatized a little bit and ostracized, and then you don't get access to the car, and then you don't get access to the car, you don't get access to the video, and you don't get the video out, and you don't get the views, and you don't get the money. It's bullshit, but it is what it is, and that's a bit of a problem.
It's a bit of a sad thing. And Chris Harris, for example, he can afford to do this because he has been in the game for so long. We actually had this discussion that you guys might find it interesting. The GT3, has been around for so long. We still consider it a little bit like a fresh thing, but we realized the other day that the
22
first
years
review was exactly in 99, and I think Chris Harris was also there. I think he posted in one of his stories taking a press car, like a 996 GT3 press car in 99, and you can actually understand that the guy has been in the game for so long. So at this point in his career, I think that he can do it. He can say what he thinks, and normally what he doesn't interest him, he doesn't review.
And he's been everywhere. He can say that the new
Bentley SUV
he's been
ugly
up,
and
he's been down, he's been in the drive network, and they got screwed by the guy, and then
he has done his Drivers Republic before. He got fucked. Anyway, all these things, very cool and very interesting things. I would say that unfortunately the biggest take out of that is what you said. Okay, the fact that the current situation actually favors quick and easy stuff being put out there.
You have to be the first one. You have to be the first
minimal work, by the way, because if the competition is who is going to put it first and who is going to collect the most cool cars and the most cool thumbnails and the most cool titles, then I have to tell you something. He's going to produce fucking crap, because no one has enough interesting things to say, so he has something to say to you every day. And no one finds enough fantastic
mate,
and special and unique cars, so every day he has one to present to you. So if someone is doing daily shit like this, he's probably also passing you some bullshit as fantastic.
Costas, I was watching a Ned Boylan wiki video today, and he said exactly, because it's a channel that I really enjoy to some extent, although I fully believe that a good percentage of their story are heavily romanticized, but whatever. You got to sell. It's okay. But he was saying something, and he said basically he was going along the lines of, it doesn't matter who you are, it is impossible for you to be such an engaging person that I want to see your life every day. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is that you eventually end up like, if you are a content creator that posts every day, or that posts
being a caricature of yourself.
Exactly. You become Ned Flander, you Flanderize yourself. You become a caricature of yourself. So when today you jump from a 10-meter bridge, and then tomorrow you have to jump from an 11-meter bridge, and then the day after it has to be 12-meter bridge, and whatever, and then the next day you have to jump from a mountain. And this eventually is a game that only lasts so long, because even all these YouTuber and car reviewer and influencers, and most of them are not really creating any content. So because what is the content in me having the budget to buy something and then film myself buying it, and then film myself driving it home? Like, what? It is not content. This is eventually is a documentary, if anything. But it's
boys, and it's even worse, because they are basically what is happening. And I'm really sorry. This is like it sounds a little bit like an accusation, while it's more like a like cultural judgment from my side. Like I'm not accusing the players. I'm actually a little bit more accusing the game. So these people, for multiple reasons, they decide to do this. Be it their thirst for success, for fame, for recognition, being hustled because they want to make money, being even sometimes, in very, very few times, being a romantic thing, that they wanted to do car videos. However, they are actually destroying the very thing that they supposedly love. And again, this is why I think that it is important to voice these questions. This is being supported by us. So when you are watching one of these daily garbage things, and he is presenting you one car that is fantastic every single day, and he's doing the same.
It's impossible for it to be true.
And the same fantastic thing, and the same fake smile, and the same fake laugh, and the same fake cry. Okay, and he's sort of taking you in this journey, and he's telling you every day how important it is, your opinion. Guys, your opinion is absolutely not important to him. He's flat out lying to you. He's actually, if you want to be honest, he's actually doing the opposite of what I'm doing now. By telling you that this is like that, you are actually sort of want to defend yourself and tell me, Kostas, this is not like that. He's doing the opposite. He's sort of pampering you, touching you in the ears and telling you, this is good, I care about you. What is going to be the next supercar that I will buy? It's going to be decided by you. What wrap I'm going to put in my supercar is decided by you. We do this project together. Bullshit, absolute bullshit. It's a fucking machine. It's an algorithm that has to be pleased. They are not responsible for the algorithm, but at the same time they are. We are feeding it. So, and your views are also part of it. If you find yourself trapped in one of these things,
hold on.
Avoid it.
Weren't we talking about the 992 GT3?
Correct. Promise me that we're gonna do like an episode only on this. 992 GT3. So,
back to the topic at hand.
Back to the point at hand.
We eviscerated the fact that we liked both Chris Harris' videos the most, and we also agree that he felt a little bit underwhelmed, and which is to me a surprise, because this car is the biggest departure from the previous generation as history goes, because not even
then maybe it shouldn't be a surprise.
But not even the 991, maybe 991 from 997 was a bigger departure, because everything was different. But this one also, right? And this one has even double wishbone front, which has completely new thing in the 911.
I would say that the 991 was a bigger departure on paper. This on paper doesn't look like a particularly brand new car, especially because the key numbers, they look quite similar. However, I believe that in principle, this is sort of preparing us for like a new era for the 911.
Clarkson used to say class and probably the most influential automotive spokesman of the last 30 years potentially, um, said that Porsche designers are the laziest in the world. And he was wrong, because there is not a single car being sold today that has evolved and changed more than the 911. The 911 now has nothing to do with what the 911 was. Like, the engine is not even in the same place anymore. The geometry is not even in the same place. The only thing is really is the engine design, which is a flat six. I mean, that's the only thing that is left from the original Porsche 911. And purists must be pulling their hairs out. Front double wishbone and the engine that is pretty much a mid-engine car, so it's insane stuff that you would have never said possible. Like, if you said something like this 20 years ago, they would have said, if Porsche does this, nobody will buy the car.
I'm not buying the car.
But yet,
and what's happening now with allocations?
They are all sold.
Really? No one buying the car?
No, everyone is buying them because it's a properly good car for sure, and it's an important car all the time. I think this is the GT3 is quite literally the most important car that Porsche releases every so often, because, and I think this is they are fully aware of it. Like, this is their halo car for real. It's not the Carrera GT or the 918. Those are like hypercars, and the people don't care so much about those. But the GT3 is really the halo car, which carries over the 911 Carrera 2 sales and whatnot.
Gab, have you heard this thing? Look, how many times we say like this car is the benchmark and this car is the benchmark for this category? No car is more of a benchmark
than this one
in its category than this. And I have to say that also no car punches higher than its category than this car.
Absolutely.
Because I know that for many people that are following this channel, and you know that we focus on all these much more affordable cars, a 991 or a 992 GT3, it might sound for you like a completely expensive thing that you cannot afford. We cannot afford it also, so don't worry. We are with you. But we consider actually the 991 GT3 the absolutely best value for money. And I know what you're thinking, 180,000 euro, 200,000 euro value for money. Yes, because when you compare it with a 300,000 euro McLaren or an even more expensive Ferrari, and the car is a better car, not only it's a benchmark, but it is actually good value for money. So the GT3 is extremely relevant.
Absolutely.
Always relevant. It's for Porsche and for other manufacturers.
This is the GT3 and Porsche. Actually, a lot of manufacturers always say how much their motorsport is influencing their production lines, and to be honest, 99% of it is crap. Like, Renault was in Formula 1 for many years, but none of its technology is transferred in your Megane RS. I can guarantee you that.
No connection.
On the other hand, Porsche really does do that. All the evolution that you see across the board in the 911 GT3 or in the Carrera 2, even the front double wishbone evolution and the engine being moved forward. Of course, these are stuff that on paper is obvious, but these are directly connected with their evolutions of the car in motorsport. There is a direct trickle down technology transfer from motorsport to a road car, and this you only really get with Porsche, because even if you think that Ferrari does the same, it really does not do the same, and it's just enough that you take a Ferrari, a Pista, whatever, the most track focused Ferrari you can get your hands on, you take it and you go on track, and you realized how little motorsport technology is in it. There is a lot of motorsport marketing on it, but motorsport technology and performance, not so much.
And it's a very cool car, huh?
These are extremely cool cars.
Motorsport technology,
cool cars.
Not.
But you buy a GT3, you buy a GT3 if you can. You collect it from the dealer, you drive it to the racetrack, you drive a whole weekend on the racetrack, like hammering the car, taking every single curb there is on the racetrack. Then from there you go back home, and the next day you are going to the shops, and then in the evening you go for a nice dinner, and then the day after you go for a 2,000 kilometers road trip, and the car just turn the key, engine on, and you go. And it's there is nothing else. And when you are on the track, it feels at home, and when you are on the road, it also does feel at home. Albeit, I think, with the current stage of development on the road, it might feel a little bit like, yeah, it's how much can you use of a 2021 GT3 on the road? Like probably
We ha-
20%.
we had this discussion. You remember, like we discussed about like previous generation GT3 and GT3 RS. And if someone can tell you that on a public road he can feel the difference between a GT3 and a GT3 RS, I tell you, he honestly is
One is
lying
probably
because
louder.
the
Maybe
speed,
it's louder.
or then you have the wing in your mirror. But honestly, the amount of performance these cars pack and the amount of grip, you have to drive them so hard to be at the limit on a public road. Even in like German roads that are like fantastic, like amazing tarmac, and you still have like fast corners and
You
stuff.
can't drive.
You really have to drive
You
so
can't
hard.
drive. You cannot drive a current generation sports car, GT3, for example, but many others as well. I think potentially the GT3 is still accessible in the sense that there is a lot of torque for normal cars, but there is not massive amount of torque. The engine is still NA and it's only 510 horsepower. But you have to remember that the car is now running 21 inches on 315s. So 315 is like the contact patch, just mechanically, the contact patch the car carries around is huge. And realistically on the road, you cannot even get close to explore the real limit of the car. If you think that real limit is understeering into a tree, then of course you can do. But this is not what I mean. Like the technical capabilities of the car, you cannot reach them. Of course, you can make a mistake and crash for sure, but actually experience what the car can do on the road, it's impossible. Impossible. I challenge anybody to do it unless it's on a private or closed road, or unless you are a complete maniac, which is okay. But then it's a matter of time. So like how long
There are a
it
few.
takes.
There are a few.
Yeah, but they don't last very long with those cars. It's okay to drive around like an idiot on an S2000 or an MX-5, but if you drive like that, if you street racing a GT3, it's not now, it's next week, you're gonna end up in a tree or something.
It's gonna happen.
I can guarantee you.
And it's gonna happen. Unfortunately, it's gonna happen also like 100 kilometers per hour more.
Correct.
Which, if you know how cars interact with objects and trees and walls and stuff like this, and barriers.
It's not dissimilar.
It is not as cool. It's not as cool as you think.
It's not dissimilar to superbikes eventually, which are first, second gear, you're 180, which is what? Why? It's not. I mean, I get the point. I love it, but.
You used to love it because no bike's more for you, but we're going to talk about this in another time. Let's go back to it. You mentioned something very interesting, and then we sort of went a little bit on this small tangent about driving these cars on the road and how this performance is too much. You spoke about motorsport links, and I want to talk about two things, and that will lead us to our next topic.
Yeah.
A few seasons back, almost 2 seasons back now, I think it was 2019, we saw in the Manthey car the double wishbones. So we actually saw it in a GT3R. And we said, fuck, this is very cool. And between us, we sort of said, this is probably coming to the next road car.
Yes.
And not only it actually came, but it's exactly the same setup. So exactly what we saw in the race cars happened there. And you spoke very nicely about the engine position. Every generation, the 911, the engine is being moved. If one day they flip the transmission and it's actually mid-engine and you go crazy, I'm telling you, you are absolutely stupid because this is not a rear engine car anymore. And you have to think that about the actual engineers, all these things are almost irrelevant, because we had this discussion with an engineer when the RSR was presented, mid-engine, quite a lot of fuss about when that happened, like mid-engine 911. And they said that for us it's not really something crazy, we just can have a bit more effective diffuser because all the other cars that were racing, they're actually mid-engine.
This was the main issue. This was the main issue with the standard design, which is the engine is in the way of the airflow. So
correct, but it wasn't that they couldn't optimize the one or the other, and the same goes for the double wishbone suspension. I spoke with one of the Manthey engineers, and they said to me, okay, the tire wear is a little bit better. I was expecting them to tell me with double wishbone in the front,
car is gonna be completely different.
Bullshit. Drivers like Kevin Estre or our boy there, they have no absolute problem. Actually, even if the McPherson is bent like this, when they are committed and they're on that lap, they can drive it anyway. Kevin Estre is not that he jumps in the car and says, this is the one with the double wishbones because that I drive faster. No, he drives fast the one and the other. And when he touches with another car and the alignment is that much off, he still drives it,
Actually, I could argue one thing. I could argue even something else, so that if you maybe they are much better driver than I am, but I've also had my stint as a factory driver at Mercedes, and they could have put a McPherson strut in it, or they can put a multi-link or a double wishbone, I would have had no way of knowing, in the sense that the car will eventually oversteer, understeer, go fast or go slow, but fuck, the technology that is in it is almost irrelevant. It's just from an engineering perspective. One solution might be beneficial, but actually there is no silver bullet, in the sense that, yes, double wishbone is the most accepted form of suspension in motorsport, and it has some technical advantages, but yet it also has some technical disadvantages. And a well set up McPherson is not necessarily like flat
The
out
end of the
worse,
world that's
or
so bad, and exactly.
So
And
these are more
it should
like
not belong in a sports car.
these are mostly like forum talks. It's not
Exactly.
like, for example, the ND,
it is actually
the ND has double wishbone, and yet it drives like a piece of shit. So it's
for me, Gab, for me, the perfect example is the guy with the Honda Civic, you know, and he's saying, "Yeah, but we have like wishbones, and the wishbone is like that big, you know, when your wishbone is that small." You should not really brag too much about it. That's all that I have to say. So, as far as motorsport derived technology goes, this is the link, and the link for motorsport is crazy. It is.
Porsche is the best. Porsche is the best manufacturer. Honestly, I have to say something, and this is. I am a deep Porsche fan since ever. My dream car is a Porsche, and absolutely, one day I will.
You're not an MX-5 guy.
No, I'm
not a Lotus guy.
But Porsche is genuinely so. They also build garbage, and they've also built garbage in the past. I agree, but their GT cars are pretty much the best cars you can buy. So if you have money, if you have the money to buy them, those are most likely to be the best cars you can buy. Like from overall, like there is not a single other manufacturer that builds something that can do what a Porsche GT car does. Because you buy your McLaren, whatever it is, it just doesn't work like a GT car.
GT department nailing the art of delivering working product. It's not even about the product per se, because they sell it amazingly. And this happened a little bit like of an accident for the original GT3. You have heard all the stories how they had to fight to do it. I'm not going there. I'm not going to repeat anything that you know. But they actually work on fine-tuning the thing, and you will see that when you are here at the Nurburgring,
they test
Porsche is the company that tests the most and tests the most. And even with all the reliability issues that they had in the previous GT3, you know what they did with this one in the press release, it is there. If you don't notice it too much, you're not gonna understand why. But they said we took this car and we did 5,000 kilometers in Nardo. Flat out, on top speed, stop, refuel, and continue. And the reason that they did this is because they want this engine to work. You know, for any other sports manufacturer, especially like in low volume models, because all these cars, even the.
But also, also because it's a budget issue. Like Porsche also has the strength to do this kind of testing.
But they do it. They actually do this kind of testing, and then they push even more, and then they push even more. They have like a reliable product compared to a McLaren or a Ferrari. You know, like the previous generation GT3 is still extremely reliable.
Absolutely.
We're not gonna go in horror stories now, but we might do an episode on all these cars because we have experience with all of them.
And also, you know, like.
But I want to arrive the next topic.
Sorry for interrupting you, but this is sort of like this is another example of the Pareto distribution. No, it's a Pareto distribution, you know. Porsche are built like this because they test more. So because they test more, the cars are built like this, and the more they do it, and the better they are. So the 992 is the best Porsche has ever built. This is how it is, and you might like it or might not like it, but it is what it is.
I have said it many times. The guy himself, AP, he said it. The next GT3 is always the best GT3. So if someone asks you which is the best GT3, it's going to be the next one.
Exactly. Okay, might not be the one that you want for whatever reason. For example, I'd much rather have a 997, but this is my.
But the best one.
The best one is the current one. Yes, or the next one actually. Yeah.
And many times these cars are getting some flack when they are new. So people are going to say now the 992 GT3 is ugly. By the way,
I don't think it's ugly.
I don't consider it pretty.
I don't think it's ugly.
Consider it pretty, but you're gonna see like down the road, you know, like the 996 GT3 was like this. People said, this car is so ugly, and
but now the 996 actually was ugly. So
yeah, but now you see it, you know, and
now it's coming back.
You know, I kinda like it.
Even the fried egg headlights are coming back. They're having like a resurgence.
Good reliable cars.
I have a question for you. Would you buy a 992 GT3 in PDK or manual?
Okay, I don't want to go there, but I kind of want to go there. So
If you want, I'll answer first, and then you say what you want. I will buy it with PDK because
this is very funny.
because it just fits the car. You know, it just fits the car. The car is built to be the ultimate performance. So the Carrera 2 I buy with a manual. The Carrera 2 I buy with a manual. The GT3 I buy with a PDK. The 997 I would never retrofit a PDK to it. I use it manual.
So this is very funny because I said already the second time that we argue a lot and this is why we do these videos. And now I'm gonna again agree with Gab, but unfortunately, and I promise that this we haven't talked about.
It's the last time when we agree.
A very good. No, this is not gonna be the last time, unfortunately. Or it might be the last time if this is the last podcast we do. A very good friend of the channel. He's considering his allocation, and he actually asked Sergio and he asked me, and he said, "What should I do?" And I told him exactly what Gab said. I told him, this car is designed to be a PDK. So if you want the real experience, if you want everything this car has to offer, because this car is a performance-oriented car and it's made to be that way, to get all the systems integrated and get the best driving experience out of that car, you want a PDK. There are other cars that are designed to be manual, and then the PDK or the paddle shift transmission, whatever that is, the DCT, it's an afterthought. But in this car, it's actually made to be like that. And I will agree with you. I would buy my 992 GT3 a PDK.
Right on.
And we should come on this topic like manual transmissions and this whole save the manuals thing, and where in what application it makes sense and in what it doesn't. Because I think that we have interesting things to say. Being that we are both guys that we, in the majority of our car life, we had like completely analog manual cars. Yes. Any systems at all. So he had a Lotus Elise one. My MX-5 doesn't even have ABS. So we're like big believers in completely analog experiences. Still, 992 GT3, get it in that Python green or that other blue.
White.
What is the name of the launch color blue?
White, man. That's the only color to buy a GT3.
Really?
GT3 should only come in white. Actually, I don't understand why Porsche paints them. They should only come in white. Race cars must be white. Guys, let me clarify this for everyone. Race cars must be white. There is also a reason. Because if it's white inside, you see everything. If it's everything, if there is a small crack in the cage, if there is a small crack here and there, you see it immediately. So race cars, white.
Me, that I'm not really hoping to see any cracks in my GT3, I might buy it in color. But good point there. And let's agree that we have to disagree at some point. So
yeah, absolutely.
Gab wants a white one. I want a Python green one, just because I'm having this. How do you call this? Like a midlife crisis or something.
But have you seen? Have you seen all these nostrils coming up on the bonnet? Because I actually have another. Before we leave the 992 behind us, I have two topics to discuss. Then, as you know, since you are more like interested in the technical aspects than I am, the 992 is bigger, yet weighs exactly the same, or pretty much the same, as the 991. And I happen to know why this is. So basically, they saved weight by giving it thinner glasses, by giving it already a plastic carbon bonnet, by giving it already a lithium-ion battery, which I think is an absolute first for Porsche mass-produced cars. And they save something in the exhaust already. I think it's like the exhaust system is like 10 or 15 kilos lighter than the 991. These used to be GT3 RS upgrades. So I wonder, what are they going to do with the GT3 RS?
And I will tell you. So I go now on a limb trying to do what we said we shouldn't do. You should never predict things on the internet, because now if I say something and then eventually the GT3 RS...
Nobody's watching this, so don't worry.
Correct. We're like 50 minutes in, so actually you're right. Nobody's watching this. But I will tell you where they're going to go. I believe that we have reached like peak car. I believe that they didn't really have options. We have discussed before, for example, like these lithium-ion batteries. You know, they have some disadvantages that are like a little bit serious. So I don't really believe that Porsche.
Yeah, for a manufacturer to go there, it means that
they are running out of options.
Yes.
And also, I would say that this is a little bit the general problem with the 992. Because they were very close to what that engine can do. So if you expect to see like a 4-liter engine from
600
Porsche, that has to pass these emissions, and especially like the next one is gonna be like with Euro 7. So I guarantee you that you're not gonna see any 4-liter Porsche engine making much more power than what you see. This is why the numbers are so similar. And unfortunately, they cannot really make the cars more light. Okay, so they're a bit stuck there. And this is why you see all these things like suspension design change and more aggressive aero. And the aero is very important because it's a bit of a double-edged sword. And Gab can actually come and contribute a little bit later on and tell us a little bit, because he has the feedback of driving these high aero cars. But my opinion is that normally cars that are optimized to have like good aero grip are actually a little bit worse in the slow stuff. And trying to have like road cars work with high aero, it's a very tricky thing. It's a recipe that I personally don't think I'm a big fan of. And I believe that the next GT3 RS, because it has to hit very specific goals, so it has to go like X amount of seconds faster than the previous car, and because the tire technology might not make a jump, because I think we are also at a very high level. These Cup 2R tires, and promise me, Gab, that if we manage to do more of this podcasts, we actually should do one like specifically on tires.
Okay.
So we don't talk too much about this now. But because I believe that the technology is almost getting to a level that we know we cannot really move much. The GT3 RS is gonna have like even more aggressive aero,
Bigger
I believe
tires.
it's gonna be more efficient but less fun. And again, while they will try to make this power accessible by everyone, because all these GT cars, they are like this, everyone can drive them.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna start sort of move away from what we love, like cars that can really, really be dual use. So I expect the GT3 RS to have like a huge wing, and
Yes.
even a more aggressive bonnet vent. The problem is that where they want the bonnet vent in order to generate like maximum downforce.
is the boot.
Like how exactly, and maybe in the GT3 RS they will sacrifice it, but generally the more crazy the aero goes and the more stiff the cars go and the more tires they add, there is a good possibility we're gonna go away from what we love about the GT3. So if you have the money, don't buy a 992 GT3, but find a 991.2.
Absolutely wrong.
GT3.
If you have the money, go and buy 997 GT3 RS, because this is
Man.
this is the best Porsche. This
The
is the
best
best
that there
Porsche.
is. Cool. But Costas says that if you want to experience that engine without particulate filters and in a package that has a good amount of grip and some aero help there and still decent brakes and can go day in, day out, your money should go in a 991.2 GT3, which is sort of the best of the best. Not even an RS, because
I
that
think
engine
they are
is
going.
strong.
I don't think right now. I think now, of course, they are expensive, but I don't think they are super expensive. I think you can get a good deals on them. So we were talking about aero. So yes, we were talking about aero, and I have
aero, and I want you to discuss some hot things.
Right. Yes. One thing is that I tend to agree with you, which basically. So first of all, I see something in the marketing. They say they have 400 kilos of downforce, whatever, in the Porsche. But this, bear in mind, this is only with the maximum attack angle at the rear wing. Which, incidentally, if you give it that, you might run into problems apparently, because
you have some inside info.
I have some inside info. Actually, this is not based on the road car information. So, like, the road car might not have this issue. But the Cup car, which is directly derived from the road car, although they have certainly an upgraded aero package, such as they have a more pronounced splitter and they ride much lower to the ground and they have a bigger wing, I'm sure about it. So these cars have been testing, as you might know. Carrera Cup is going to happen and Super Cup is going to happen, and this is going to be the first year of the 992 generation car. So they've been testing here and there, and then they decided one day to go and test in Spa, to prepare for the Mobile 1 Super Cup race together with Formula 1. And this is a test organized directly by Porsche Motorsport, so it's not like a track day where you can go with your car. So everything was running smoothly up until the point that the cars started running close one to another, and apparently some cars took off in Raidillon, like literally. Not just a little wheelie, but literally like pulling serious wheelies. So much so that Porsche decided to stop and cancel the test day, which is unheard of for Porsche. Basically, it's the first time I hear it in my life. And yeah, so it's pretty serious.
It's a bit funny because the first test of these cars was actually they have raced already in the US.
Yeah, they've raced already
The
in
first test,
but they've raced
it's
only on
Sebring.
track that don't have so much elevation changes.
Correct.
And not at that speed, especially.
Just for reference, guys, it's not uncommon for one of these cars to get a bit of air. Like a GT3 car would get a bit of air.
Yes, that's a regular occurrence.
So,
yeah.
Exactly. But in order for this to be a problem, and as Gab said, this is a first. There has to be something really wrong. So if they had to,
I think it's a combination. To my knowledge, I think it's a combination of the cars being pushed already quite close to the limit, in the sense that Porsche takes the car. They have engineered it, so they have a window within which the car, they know it works because it's been simulated. This is what it should be doing. This is what it does, and this is what we can do to do this and that. And then they sell the cars, and the race team takes the car, and they go on the racetrack, and they go all together. And then some crazy engineer said, okay, let's try this, and let's try this, and let's try that. Let's try something completely that on paper should not work. Let's try it. And basically, the point was that the car is a much improved front end compared to the older generation. It's a much improved braking, because it has wider tires as well. So the cars are much more easier and comfortable on the brakes. With no ABS, it's much harder to lock. But they still need a little bit of help to rotate. So this has always been the case with Porsche. Like, you jack them up in the rear to make them turn. This is what always happened with Cup cars, because traction is always there no matter what, because the engine is relatively back.
In the back.
So traction is always there. So you jack them up so that they can turn. And the 992 is not different, in the sense that the team, they operate it like a 997. So they took delivery of the car, they jacked them up all the way up, like literally the cars are running at the end of the available travel in the rear. So the maximum ride height in the rear, minimum ride height in the front.
And that probably fucks around with the splitter.
So, and this something probably either the splitter stalls at certain angles or in certain situations or whatever. But I've been told that even driving alone, despite the car being so aggressively set up, the car would develop a lot of push in fast flat out corners, which it feels like the car is lifting. Like, the sensation that I've been told is that the car is really lifting. Like, you had the contact patch become smaller and the car is really lifting from the front, which is aero related. So I don't know what Porsche will do, but they expect Porsche to do something, because basically it can be a combination of the extreme rake the cars are running. The cars are basically now flat bottom cars, so they are almost sealed. So like running heavy rakes also influences the airflow. They have a massive wing. They have a gurney flap on the wing. So there is quite a lot of downforce happening at the rear, and this can be that it's like overworking the front and lifting it. So discussing, I would say that if I would have been, but I'm no engineer, but I would imagine that the first thing they would do is take the gurney off, because this helps a lot. Like, this would help. But yeah, even Porsche makes still a little bit of, not mistakes, but race teams are gonna push the machinery beyond the specified limits, and this is the best part of racing.
I have a feeling that we're gonna, whatever is the solution, we're gonna see it. What Porsche is very good at is,
they've already fixed them.
And refining.
I can tell you.
And refining. If you guys are not familiar, Gab has actually raced Carrera Cup in the past, so our experience with this is not like completely, completely philosophical. It's not completely coming out of like observations, like just watching the news.
We know a little bit what we're talking about.
Yeah. And as he very well said, the problem with these cars is always the front end, and I'm pretty sure that what they're trying to do is they're going to try to sort of work around these limitations. As you said, also, for example, like improved braking and improving a front end with double wishbones. One would think that this would be like a very simple thing. Again, they have been running this car with McPherson. No, they have been running this car with McPherson for years, and that was nailed. So it's not as simple as it sounds.
Absolutely not.
Gab, can I say something? If you are sharing some interesting gossip, then maybe I should share some interesting gossip.
Go for it. I'm all about the gossip,
For Nurburgring. What people might know or might not know is that there has been this industry pool sessions last week. Porsche has been testing there was especially this cool afternoon, that Porsche has been testing apparently something fast. There was this idea that they might go out for a record. There is a lot of things that have been speculated. Maybe you heard about the new fastest SUV. That is a thing. You saw it probably in one of the local websites. Maybe you heard about the GT4 RSs.
Who buys an SUV because it's the fastest SUV at the Nurburgring? How stupid do you have to be for it to be your decision-making process? It's like saying, honestly, it's like saying, I will buy this pizza because it's the, I don't know,
who buys
literally
a fast SUV
widest
anyway?
pizza in the world. How does this value relate to the case use? Like, I don't get it.
Gab, who buys a fast SUV anyway? And why you buy a fast SUV?
But fast SUV, hold on. You buy a G-Class, like a G63, it's pointless. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I would never do it. Like, before spending 300,000 euros, because pretty much this is what they cost. Before spending this amount of money on a Euros or on a G63, I would buy so many things. But there are people with disposable income that they basically reach the end of the list and they have to buy something or whatever. They want to buy something for their wives and they buy this. But the G63 still makes more sense than the fastest SUV on the Nurburgring, because I can guarantee you the fastest SUV on the Nurburgring is just gonna be fucking uncomfortable,
horrible on the road.
Exactly. It's gonna be stiff, right. And it's gonna have like massive tires and massive wheels, and it's gonna skip and bump everywhere.
You are absolutely right. And you know what? I agree with you. And you know what? We are both wrong. And I'm here to provide reality check. This is why I'm here. I'm here to give you touch with the population.
Get me in touch with reality. I see.
Exactly. And I will tell you that if Porsche would not sell these fast SUVs,
this is a different story. This is a different story.
I agree. Anything. So apparently, not only people do buy them, not only people do want them,
but they are necessary.
But I believe that for Porsche is gonna work fantastic. And thanks to all these Chinese people buying Cayennes and Macans, and thanks to them, we can actually enjoy some GT3s. So thank you very, very much. If you are buying all these other Porsches,
buy them all
to enjoy. Yeah. So point at hand. I will tell you that the gossip is not this. So GT4 RS has been testing for some time. Porsche was there with multiple cars. There was even like a black GT2 RS. All this stuff nice and interesting. But there was something else testing on track. So on track for the last couple of days, it has been this green GT3 RS MR, driven by Kevin Estre, driven very, 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 very fast. Faster than almost anything else on industry pool.
I'm not surprised.
And it was out also in this session, driven very hard. The car had a problem. It ended up in a tow truck. So you might see some of these photos sort of surface, like Kevin Estre on a tow truck. Actually, that would make like a fantastic title for this video. So if we get desperate and we want your attention, we might actually put it there and then only arrive to it in the last 5 minutes of this podcast. But yeah, so Kevin Estre was out there. He was on a tow truck. He didn't crash. He didn't have a mechanical failure.
He just had a puncture.
He had exactly just a puncture. But the most interesting thing lapping out there was this. So now the question that I will raise, not to Gab, but to you out there, is why Kevin Estre was out there driving an old 99.2 GT3 RS MR.
I have a theory.
It's a car that currently is not even relevant, in the sense that if Porsche wants to push something, the lap time of the 992 GT3 is out. The 992 GT3 RS has been testing for months, almost at the same time with the GT3. So for them, actually, it makes no sense to put.
I have a theory
out there. So hit me.
Tires.
Hit me, but I want them, the viewers to.
I can probably give you the actual answer, which is tire testing.
Okay.
They're probably testing tires. This is probably what's happening, because I might say that the tires are.
And there goes all the drama of this episode.
The same size or very close to the same size of the 992, and they might generally don't have enough 992s, or they might have reconverted the prototypes, the mules, to RS. So like they could have reconverted the GT3 mules to RS mules. So they might not have enough cars to go and do tire testing, because maybe, I don't know, whatever it can be, the cars are testing somewhere else.
That is a theory. Me as a Kostas, I would actually like to think, because we have this 991.2 GT3 RS MR that an official lap time doesn't exist. So of course you have the lap time of the GT2 RS and the GT2 RS MR.
This could also be.
And and we don't have we have like a very fast lap time, but I think, and that is sort of wrapping up the whole Porsche section of this podcast. We believe that a GT3 RS, especially with the right upgrades at the right hands, can actually be almost as fast. So in my dream world, that I like this almost impossible laps to happen, I would like to see a GT3 RS equipped with a Mar pack driven by Kevin Estre on fire to come and drop a lap time that is like, to come and drop a lap time that would be like.
But do you think Porsche is gonna shoot themselves in the foot? Showing that their old cars is as fast or faster still than the newer model?
No, I honestly believe that they were just using this for filming and they got some shots of the cars and maybe some testing, so nothing's gonna come. But I will tell you that from the Nurburgring, this is Kostas, and from the Nurburgring, the most interesting thing that was on track last week and probably last month, it was this green GT3 RS.
And not the AMG Project 1 enduring its last laps of testing before being delivered by the to the customer that paid 3 million for each car 3 years ago?
Not that gap, and for that they will have to join in the next one lap.
Oh my god!
Because I tell you that this is something that we are gonna start our next podcast with. So guys, I hope you enjoy this. We said that we were going to talk about the 992 GT3, but we actually talked also about reviewing algorithms, Carrera Cup, a little bit of gossips. And look, I hope you found it interesting. We really enjoyed this conversation.
We did. I enjoyed it personally. It's always nice to see you and talk to you, by the way.
Is this you, Gab?
Yes.
I really enjoyed talking with you as well. We didn't really plan this. And I think that was actually the best thing because
podcasts. You know how podcasts should run like this. They should have like a degree of improvisation and freedom, and because also, who cares? As Bill Murray famously said, it just doesn't matter. We just do a podcast, we speak about whatever we want to speak, and it just doesn't matter. People watch it, it just doesn't matter. It gets 1 million views, it just doesn't matter. It gets 1 view, it just doesn't matter. Bill Murray, just watch every Bill Murray video, everything Bill Murray in your life, watch it. It doesn't matter, it has to be a movie, whatever it can be. Bill Murray has the answer. No matter the question, he has it.
There are all these interesting stories about Bill Murray on the internet, and how
him washing dishes and whatever. Fantastic guy.
Beautiful things. Fantastic guy. We both love him. Guys, this was that in these beautiful wise words by Gabriel Piana.
Yes.
And Bill Murray.
Yes.
I think we're gonna
more Bill Murray than me.
I would ask you that you like this video. If you see it in a video, you do whatever you do in Spotify. I don't know what they do there. There should be like an equal.
I don't know what.
An equal reaction.
I think they can only. No. I think there they can only listen to it, and I think it's the same at Apple Podcasts, which I think
I cannot tell you something. I don't even know if we're gonna be there. Are we gonna be there?
But yes, Apple Podcasts and Spotify are the two things that you are gonna be able to find us. Beside YouTube. Okay. So yes, YouTube, watch and like and subscribe, hit the bell, whatever, all the stuff that every YouTuber says. And if you are hearing us,
go check the YouTube channel, please.
Yeah, exactly. If you're hearing us on Spotify and Apple Podcast, then go on the YouTube/OneLapHeroes channel and check it out, because we are doing some cool shit, according to us.
Anyway, don't forget to leave a comment. Yes. About anything that you want to say on the topics that we discussed,
or even something that you might want to hear. Like if you want to, so if you have questions, we can address them next time out, and we pick it up from there. Remember when Costa said at the beginning that creators don't really care about your opinion? We don't really care about your opinion, but you might come up with an idea or a question that we find interesting. Hence, we will reply to it, and we might take it and run with it and go for a whole episode about it. So we are just trying to exploit your own creativity to our own benefit. So you might think about something that we didn't think about. So please make sure to comment about it. And I think this is it. We hear us next time.